I'm so glad that that Deb had that used that word mind, and it's really weird because we had not. She knew what the themes were today, what the passages were. But what I wanted to point out, really at the beginning of this, is the fact that you don't have to teach that word mind to kids, do you? In fact, do you remember as a kid, your parents sitting you down and go, all right, these toys, anybody tries to touch them, you say, no, these are mine. Anybody have that conversation? Probably not. I hope not. No, we try to teach the opposite. And we really, really struggle with that. Share. Be generous, right? Yet let other kids use yours. But really what happens is that concept of mine is kind of in there, and it takes almost no effort for a kid or even an adult to understand what that means. You try to take some kid's ice cream, mine! And you immediately know what that means, and you start to use it yourself. And you might wonder, like, how did they have that and not have to teach it? And I think it's because it's in us, right? It's part of that thing called sin in us. It goes right back to original sin, back to Adam and Eve in the garden. I was looking at this week, and I wonder if before they sinned, right, before they rebelled, if ownership was a big thing. I can't imagine that it would be, right? God placed them. If you read Genesis, it says He kind of placed them in the garden. He said, all right, here's the place. Check it out. There's trees everywhere. There's food everywhere. It's all for you. It's my gift to you. Enjoy it. Now, they believed the lie that the devil came on and said, well, God's kind of holding out on you. He knows if you have the knowledge of good and evil, then you're going to be like Him, right? And you'll have what's His. And you should take what's yours. And they rebelled. And look at, in Genesis, there's that, one of the curses that gets passed down is God says to Eve that her husband, that Adam will now, her desire will be for him, and it says that he will rule over you now. So that whole dynamic in relationships isn't a God-pleasing dynamic, right? It's a product of sin and brokenness, and it's because of death, and it's because of all of that mess. And Jesus came to change all of that, to say that's not how God wanted it to be. And so He came, and He died, and He gave us this freedom to know that we are saved, this freedom to know that, listen to this, He took what is yours. Because I really think the only thing that I can legitimately say is mine is my sin. Yeah, that's all me. My selfishness, any anger, any hostility, right? The fact that I want it all and it's all mine, I think that way, is something that He took to the cross. But let that sink in for a minute. All the things that are on you that you should own, He took on that cross and let and died. He did it willingly. Willingly. He said there was a joy that was set before Him. And so He looked at all the guilt, He looked at all the shame, and went, that's nothing compared to what I want to give them. This joy that's going to be the product, and the end result is going to be heaven and glory, and what an awesome thing it is. So when we look at this treasure, because that's what it is, that's why we're using this series called the Treasure Principle, because I want us to see Jesus as our ultimate treasure in all of life. Because He sets you free, right? You deserve, I deserved death and separation from God, but He reestablished and brought to life again my relationship with Him. That's what I have. I have it all. But what makes me think it's mine? Where does this ownership thing come in? Because let me just say that when you bring ownership and it's mine into the picture, you know this, right? All kinds of other weight comes that God never intended. There's freedom in saying, you know what, this is all God's, it's all His. Look at the passage from Romans. I used to share this at funeral services all the time, and it just dawned on me that it said that if God did not spare His own Son, I'm reading from Romans 8:31 or 32, but He gave him up for us, how will he not also, along with Jesus, graciously give us all things? I mean, are we worried, right? As Deb was talking with the balloons, that like somehow she's going to run out. Like somehow there won't be enough for everybody, and that God's going to somehow, be tapped out, have nothing there, and oh, sorry, the last guy took it all. He's limitless. He has no limitations on his giving, on what he's able to give, and he will graciously give us what we need to serve him, what we need to love the people in our lives, what we need to bring hope and peace and transformation to our world and to our families and to all of us here. Paul's asking the question, and so, won't he do that? Because sometimes we act like he doesn't. And we think it's somehow about me getting more of what's mine. Mine. Like somehow life is so that my pile is bigger than everyone else's pile. And so in this week 2 of the treasure principle, we're going to add to that principle, which says that you can't take it with you. So invest in what's eternal. Invest in the people in your life. Like remember that Jesus is everything, because that's the one thing that can't be taken from you is your relationship with him and what he's done. Nothing can erase that. That's the only thing that will last when everything else is gone is his love and what he has done for you. So he's saying everything needs to pour into that. Why would we put it anywhere else? Okay, so what we're going to have, starting this week and in the weeks to follow, are from the book. There's 6 different keys. And we're going to look at the first one today. It's kind of like the big thing I want us to take home with. And it's what Deb said, that God owns everything. It's all his. I'm his manager. What was Adam and Eve's job back in the garden? Were they owners? God was the owner. They didn't work for any of it. None of it. Boom, it was just there. He just said, look, you care for it. You tend it. That's your job. That's awesome. That's an amazing thing that they get to do. But sin turns it all around. You have Cain and Abel killing each other. I think because Cain thought that that the approval for the sacrifice should have been his. Abel got it. I should have had it. You see how that works? And we're all turned in on ourselves, but God's saying, look, I've given you all things. I've given you forgiveness. I've given you love. And so the attitude is one of generosity and one of how do I bless as many people as possible? So let's look at Matthew 25. And then we're going to start in verse 14. Again, another picture of the kingdom. Last week, we saw that it was like a guy who finds a treasure in a field, right? He sells everything. He's got to have it because it's the most amazing thing ever. Okay, so here's another snapshot, another picture. This is what it looks like when God's in control. This is kind of how life looks and it should look and will look. Okay, so you have a man who's going on a journey. Now, he has wealth that is we can't even comprehend. And I'll just give it away at the very beginning. He's talking about the Lord, the Father, this, it's all his. So there's a couple of important points there. So what does he do? He calls his servants and he entrusts his wealth to them. Right? So he says, hey, all I got, I want you guys to take care of it. I'm entrusting it into your hand. So he gives 5 bags of gold, another 2 bags, another 1 bag, and it was each according to his ability. It's important to see that they all had an ability. We often think the one guy, well, he got kind of he got the cheesy one. No, he had an ability and he got some resources. Now, we don't know, right? I've looked and scoured everything, and there's all different guesses as to what this means. The word talent in Greek means it's like a measure of weight. And no one can agree, oh yeah, it's this much silver or this much gold. What almost everyone agrees on is that it's a massive amount of money. I kind of say, let's look at it this way, that even the guy who had 1 had all the resources that he needed, along with his ability to do what he was called to do. Call it his master's business, whatever he has to do, right? The daily functions, all of that, he has enough, right? The other guy has twice as much, the other one has 5 times as much. But even the one, he can't say, well, look, you didn't give me anything. I got nothing to work with here. He has more than enough to work with, 1, 2, or 5. Now, but there's very different reactions, right? The guy with 5 right away goes and puts it to work. He gains 5 more. And then the one with 2 does the same thing. But, and this is a huge contrast, and just, I'm going to give it away also at the very beginning. Don't be like this guy. You know those memes with the stick figure guy? Don't be like him. That's what this is saying. Jesus is being real clear, in case nobody gets this. Like, don't be like the one who had 1. Because he, when he got the bag, the immediate thing he does is to dig a hole and hide it. And did anyone notice, like, what did Adam and Eve do when they realized they were naked after they sinned? They did what they hid. Wow. What if there's a connection there? It's all about guilt. It's all about shame. It's all about fear. Oh man, what's he going to do if he comes back and I've lost some of it? I tried, but I lost some. What's going to happen? And we operate out of fear sometimes. The other two are like, we're going for it. Look at the resources we have. And again, you can't let the guy with 1 off the hook because he had more than enough to do what he was called to do. So a long time passes, the master comes back, settles accounts. What happened? How did it go? So the one who received 5 goes in, brings the other 5 and says, Master, look, you entrusted me with 5 bags. Look, I made 5 more. And he's like, oh, thumbs up, bravo, whatever you want to call it. Well done. You were faithful in a few things. Did you notice that in there? Like, we're saying that 5 was a massive amount. But in this master's, bottom line, there's a lot more. So he said, you were faithful with a few, but I'm going to put you in charge of many things. Come in. Look at the joy in this. Share your master's happiness. Now, the one with 2, same exact thing. You gave me 2. Look at, I gave 2 more. Well done. You were faithful with a few. I'm going to put you in charge of many. Come, share your master's happiness. And then we get to the guy that we should avoid. We should mark this and say, you know what? Whoa, let's make sure we don't have this guy's mindset, because that's the problem. Because he starts off right away. Here's the one. I knew that you are a hard man. This is the same word that we use now for hardening of the arteries. Okay? This is not a compliment. He's kind of saying, like, a modern approach might be like, you're kind of like Scrooge. You're like the worst nightmare ever when it comes to being a boss. And so, and in fact, he insults him. He says, look, you harvest where you haven't sown. In other words, you enjoy grapes and other things, and you didn't give anything to plant that. Other guys had to sweat and do all that. You gather where you didn't gather seed. You didn't plant any of that, but you get all the stuff, right? He's going, look at you sitting up there in your fancy mansion, and you get all that. Well, we all toil down here. Isn't that the attitude? And he's like, so he said, so you know what I did? I hid it. I was so afraid that I hid it. See, here's what belongs to you. There's no relationship there with that master. There's no sense of love. There's no sense of, wow, I'm in this. The other guys went, look, he believes that I can do something with this. He's actually going to take a risk on me because he thinks I got some skills. Why would the master think he has some skills? Because the master gave him the skills. The one with the 5, the one with the 2, and yes, the guy who had 1 still had the abilities that were given him by who? By God, yes. Well, what did he do with it? Bury it. Oh boy, what if I mess up? Who cares? You're gonna mess up. Let me just give you a little forecast. If you haven't already, you probably have. I know I have. You will. We'll fail. We'll mess up. And we'll be like, all right, well, God, we're gonna see. We're gonna be following you. Because he's a God of forgiveness and a God of love. And he says, hey, we'll try something different. I'm sure that's what the guys with 5 and 2 did. See, the guy with 1 didn't have a chance because he buried it. He buried it. He says, you could have at least put it in the bank. You could have done the very least to save this thing, and it still would, you see what I'm saying? It still would have done something. Something. That's the point. See, that's the point of the parable. That it's always meant to do something. What God gives me is meant to do something. So God loves me so that I can love. He forgives me so that I can forgive. It's real simple. It's a matter of flow. And when I cut the flow and say, oh no, it's just for me, then I stop following Jesus. I stop rejoicing in what He's done, and I made it all about me. Made it all about me. And that's what happens. And this, you know, this doesn't end well. His is taken and given to the one with 10. And I think the whole point was the guy with 1 didn't even really care. At least we feel bad for him. He doesn't care. He has made his choice. This is what he wants. This is the life that he wants, and this is what he's going to get. A life away from God. So I don't want that. I don't want that for you. Jesus doesn't want that for you. That's the whole point. Don't see this as, oh, God's chastising me, and yeah, I'm not one. No. He's saying, look in your heart and see what, because we have stuff that we think we own. There's stuff that I think I own, but you know what? There's some stuff that probably owns me. Right? Some things that I think I have, but they actually have me. I want you to do a little test. Like if you had to disconnect that thing from you, would that life, would your lifeline go along with it? Would your ability to survive will go with it? Because if so, I would readjust that thinking of that, right? Because we're holding on to it. And it's not about fear; it's about what God gives. Now, a great example of that is, and I'll kind of end with this, is from Corinthians. And Paul, in 2 Corinthians 8, there's this collection, right? There's these people that are really down and out, and the church goes, hey, we're going to do something. Let's help these people. And so I want us to see all that we do at church in this light. Not a matter of, oh man, I got to pay my tithe, I got to pay my thing. We're going to tip God, or we're going to, somehow. That's not the spirit at all. He said, look, these people, Paul says, look, okay, Corinthian church. There was this collection. You guys were in, but you get a sense that maybe it stalled out a little bit with them actually like making good. So they did their pledge, but no one's seen any sign that they're actually going to make good on the pledge. He said, wait, what happened? You guys are so excited. And so what he does, he contrasts, he goes, there's these Macedonian churches, and look at what it says here in verse 2. In the midst of a very severe trial, their overflowing joy. Now, when has a severe trial and overflowing joy ever gone together in a sentence? Only when God's in it. When God's in it, you can have a severe trial. You can be up against the very worst and still have joy. Why? Because God's never going to leave you, because God's there in the midst of it. And God is still doing things that you can't even understand in the middle of all of that. It says their joy was overflowing, and their extreme poverty welled up in rich generosity. You say, look, they have nothing. They have nothing. And look at what they want to give as much as they possibly can. It says they gave as they were able, as much. In fact, even beyond their ability, entirely on their own. They pleaded with us, please let us. Because a lot of times they're like, oh, they don't have any money. Let's not burden them. But they're going, no, please don't think that way. Like, we will find money, we will find resources, we will do whatever we can because we want to be in on this. We want to see God change lives, and we want to see these people helped. He says they exceeded our expectations. They gave themselves, here's the key to it. First of all, to the Lord. Before they gave a cent, before a check was signed, before any letter was sent, they gave themselves to the Lord. And then, by the will of God, also to us. It comes down to Jesus and people, doesn't it? All this other stuff. It's all about Him and how He's impacting your life, my life, our lives. And He has, and He continues to do that. And so I say we ditch the fear. We don't bury what we have. We don't bury our abilities. We don't say, oh, compared to someone else. He's saying, look, I'm comparing with someone who had very little. Perhaps the guy with one compared and said, I didn't get 5 like him. Doesn't matter what he has. Doesn't matter who has 2. The guy with 2 is going to complain too. He got a lot less than 5. I'm not a math expert, but that's a big difference. But he did it. And that's the thing, like where's the need? Like how can we help? Because God continues, and He's never going to run out of resources. He's always going to love us. He is always faithful. He is our treasure. So what I want you to do is, right after the service, I want you to find the classroom you're in. Adults, go. Check out that Reimagined Stewardship, because it's going to say a very similar thing. You're going to hear God has made good on His promises, and He wants you to deploy whatever resources He's given you for God's mission. So that's what it is. It's, okay, there's a mission, we're all in. Are we all in? Think about it that way, right? Like a big huddle. We'll all put our hands in. Yeah, I'm in. Let's go. That's the spirit. That's what God is calling us to get excited about what He's doing as He changes our lives, and as He just longs to change the lives of so many people that are all around us. And so let's pray. Father, thank you again for your generosity, for your love, for your faithfulness. You continue to bless us. You continue to give us the resources that we need. Lord, to love and to serve the people around us. Help us to do that faithfully with a spirit of joy, knowing that we have your peace and your strength every moment. In Jesus' name, amen.